I am the founder and the executive director of the Freddie Ford Family Foundation. I am a mother of a child with autism. I am a practicing attorney. I also try really hard to stay in touch with all the families that we work with through this foundation because I love supporting our families. And I work really hard and I do a lot of things, but that's me in a nutshell.
Fantastic. And do you just have one child?
No, I have three boys. I have a 12-year-old and twin 10-year-olds.
Ooh, you are busy, busy person.
Little bit.
All right. Well, you know what? Most people that have what you have on your plate don't think to themselves, let me start a foundation where I can help other people. Can you talk a little bit about what your inspiration was to start the foundation?
Absolutely. So when we got our autism diagnosis, I was really supported. Have been fortunate with the school district that we're in and with the we use programs like Parents as Teachers. I was always told that's a wonderful organization. And if you get a chance, if you are a first-time parent, you need supports, their parent educators are amazing. So our parent educator, she did a lot of those developmental screenings. And because of that, that really kind of pushed us so we could get the supports that we needed. And we ended up connecting with First Steps, which is another awesome program for children under 3 to get supported with anything like OT, occupational therapy, speech therapy, behavioral therapy. So it was really great. So because of that, because I had supports, I wanted to help other families. When I first started researching autism, you get your diagnosis. It's like, have a nice day. Your child's diagnosed with autism. And, it's really a task to figure out where the resources are and where the information is. So I just decided I'm fortunate and I want to, push out this information that I've been able to gather and receive in support of other families. And so that's kind of what got us started on this road where I just wanted to be a resource. We don't teach anything. So, but I'm like, I understand it more. And also as a first-time parent, you don't know what you don't know. And you need as much help as possible. So because our story, my family story, was so supported, I want to be that for other families.
That's fantastic. I noticed on your webpage that you've got some kind of infographic flyers about what to do when you've got a new diagnosis. And I think that's such a critical time for families because there's a lot of emotions that are happening and an awful lot of questions, sometimes a lot of interventions, which feel really intrusive and overwhelming. So I love that you've got a focus on that. Do you offer events that are specifically around new diagnosis, or are there things that you're offering on an ongoing basis that really address some of those needs?
Yes. So, besides just being the resource of pushing the information out, I realized that a lot of kids don't get invited to parties. They have a difficulty making friends. I mean, the difficulty with social skills and social interactions really is a big part of the challenges for autism, the communication piece. So, in order to support that social need that we all have, we started doing things just for our kids. So we have an autism Easter egg hunt because Easter egg hunts are crazy. It's like the wild, wild west for getting free eggs. So, we're really low key, and our events are for our families and their families and friends. So there are neurodiverse and neurotypical because we don't just say just bring your one child out. No, you can bring your family out and everyone can enjoy what we do. So we have our Easter egg hunt. We have our summer camp, our Camp Awesome, which is 1 week, half days. This year it's July 21st through the 25th, and it's going to be at the Miriam Autism School, which is amazing. But we also do a trunk or treat for our children, and we do a holiday party. It's now the holiday party to be inclusive, because autism touches every group of people. So we kind of touch on Christmas and Kwanzaa and Hanukkah just to make sure that everyone feels represented when they come to our events. And so those are the big like things that we do holiday wise, because otherwise some families don't get to enjoy their holidays. They don't get to take their children out because they're concerned with just anything that can happen that we generally get a meltdown or
Yeah.
not being understood communication wise. So we just took that off the table. We're like, you bring your child, whatever happens is what happens. And we're all in the same boat here. We all understand. And I would tell you one thing that happened our first year of our Easter egg hunt. There was a child, they started the hunt and he had a meltdown. And one of my board members, she went over, she's a speech path, and she went over and she grabbed some eggs and she started dropping them at his feet. Like, we will bring the Easter egg hunt to you. And I mean, and I love that we accept everyone the way they are, and we will receive you the way you are, no matter what, no judgment. You don't have to be embarrassed. It is perfectly fine to just feel those big emotions, be afraid, be anxious, and we're there to support that. And we also do we started play dates, for the friendship aspect. And then we started teen outings because we know that teenagers really struggle with the social piece. So we really, really, really try to support our young people. And I will say, as my own children get older, what we do kind of grows with their age too. So eventually we will be supporting adults. We'll figure that out. But it's easier for me to figure it out as I'm navigating it. And when I see the need, I always feel obligated to, what can we do to help? What else can we do? And we are actively looking for ways to support young adults and adults with autism because, you know, autism doesn't stop just because you're not school age. And so the social aspect shouldn't stop. And what I know I just said was we don't teach anything. And what I mean by that is we want you to come naturally who you are, and we want to give you the opportunity, the social opportunity to navigate, your peers, the way you are, so you get to know them, they get to know you. We're not pushing you, they get coached through school, they get therapies outside of school. No, we just want you to naturally figure out how to use those skills because that really is just how life works. You naturally have to figure it out. And it is fun when they do. It is really fun when they do, when they get it figured out and they start to notice other kids instead of parallel playing, they're actually interacting. And so it's fun. So that's more of what we do. And then we also have parent support group meetings. We spend a lot of time sharing with other parents, getting speakers to come out and talk about, what to expect in an IEP meeting, uh, the challenges of navigating behaviors. What can we do with that? Our most recent meeting was about preparing for the summer and getting a routine together and that transition. How can you support your child through the summer? And then we'll do one in the fall because, oh, I forgot, we have a back to school workshop. And we take a couple hours and we have a variety of different speakers and we talk about, you know, how to prepare to go back to school, how to communicate with your new teachers about your child and what to expect when they're in their classroom. Because I never want my child to go to a new teacher and that teacher has to spend 6 months figuring out my child. I like to give you the information up front where you're like, this is him, this is what he likes, this is what he doesn't like, this is what upsets him. So, we do those workshops specifically for parents so that they can feel more connected. So, and it's a lot
I
of
love that. You've covered so many topics. I've got so many things to ask you. I kind of want to go back to the welcoming atmosphere you talked about with recognizing all holidays and winter holidays and that kind of thing. I've always felt like it's very difficult to maybe engage in some of these groups when you don't feel like you're welcome. And there's a lot of research that shows that Black families don't always feel like they're seen and heard in more traditional settings. And we've tried to work pretty hard on that at the ARC, but I think having someone forward facing that's living that experience has to really be a plus for you. Do you find that your services are the people that of color are naturally drawn to what you're offering because they do feel like you've created a welcoming space?
I would like to think so. We do encourage, whenever we can, we try to connect with families. And I will say, like, I get in my school district, some previous teachers and educators will send parents my way to talk to them. And you know, I want to make sure that for specifically for Black families, there is so much stigma around being labeled and then when you get a diagnosis, you're really not supported in the way that makes sense because culturally we're like, your child is fine, there's nothing wrong, do this, we're big on discipline. And that can challenge some people emotionally, so that makes it harder for them to connect. But as we grow, as we become more of a name and I connect more with other families, I am getting more Black families to connect. Um, Hopefully, and it's because they see that, you know, if you see someone like you, it's easier to go, okay, you
Yeah.
understand what I'm talking about, you understand what I'm going through. And I will say, and the reason I shifted to the holiday party is we had a Jewish family attend an event, and I was like, yeah. And that's when the light bulb clicked. I'm like, oh yeah, I should be doing this differently. It shouldn't just be about Santa Claus and, that sort of thing. It really
Yeah.
should just, be inclusive where everyone knows that, you can come here and find your people.
Yeah, I'll never forget. I had a mom tell me once that we were talking about IEP advocacy, and she said, I just don't want to be perceived as the angry Black mom.
Mm,
And I will never forget that.
mhm.
It drives a lot of the things that I try and make sure we do here because that's a terrible thing to carry with you when you've got this need to advocate for your children. Um, so I very much value that you've created a space that everybody does feel welcome. I'm going to ask the more mundane question now. I just want to know a little bit about like how do people find out about all these different programs that you're offering? Is there a registration process? Is there a fee? Is there an intake? Do I just show up at your camp in July and say, here I am? What's going to happen?
On our website, we have a calendar of our events, upcoming events, and typically you can visit visit our website and register. It'll direct you where whatever our registration process is. And when I have flyers out there, we're on Facebook and Instagram, where you'll see flyers, and I always include registration links. And then we go to a lot of community events, um, and that's how people have been, talking about us more and inviting us more because we're becoming more and more visible. I just enjoy the aspect of making sure that just because families are everywhere, right? They're not just in one spot, they're not in just one location. So I try to make sure that people can find us on our website. I put our website on everything, and the registration for everything. Typically, our events are free and donation based because we're a small organization. And funding so we can do great things, takes a bit. So, but I never want cost to be a barrier to what you can do with us. So it may say that, $20 is suggested, but if you have five, we appreciate that. At least get some cups, right? Every little bit really truly does help.
Yeah.
And like I said, because I have my own children and I understand exactly how expensive this can be just to entertain your family and find things to do. That's why we're more donation based. Some things are registration, like summer camp. is registration based. It's $175. However, St. Louis Recreation Council, for those who don't know about that, they can apply for funding and it covers our camp. So, and just
Oh,
to
wow.
talk a little bit about like our camp, I created it knowing that a lot of children get kicked out of summer camps. There are a lot of programs that say, hey, we're inclusive and we know how to do this. And so you're like, okay, great. But like day one, kids get kicked out. And that was the summer plan for the family. And these places that take these children, it's just like, didn't you think about that? I mean, like, I need you to do a little research, learn about autism a smidge, have somebody on staff that understands behaviors, like an RBT, registered behavioral technician, um, a BCBA, board certified behavioral analyst, an SLP. I like to give the name and the letters. Speech language path.
You
Um,
have learned it all.
I have learned it all. And that's the learning curve in this. It's like you see the acronyms and you don't know what they are, which is why when you mentioned I created that resource, that infographic, that's where that came from. It's because you get slammed with all the IEP, SLP, OT. But our camp, what we do is we introduce a lot of activities, a lot of sports that maybe kids aren't allowed to do at school the way the other kids do. So we do everything from mini golf to pickleball, volleyball. We just got a Gaga pit. We got Gaga ball. We do basketball, floor hockey, hover soccer. Because I know children take small bites of activities, we schedule the whole day. So there's not this downtime where you see a lot where kids are just sitting around twiddling their thumbs or they get angry or anxious because they have nothing to do. We structure our days every day for camp around a rotation. We start outside because nobody wants to be hot. We start outside in the morning and then we'll do activities for the rest of the day inside. We'll do playing games, crafts, music therapy. We free play games because a favorite is red light, green light, and what time is it, Mr. Fox? And then we also, if kids don't want to play or they decide this isn't for them, you can stop. We're just introducing. We're not hardcore keeping score, coaching this and coaching that. We're just introducing the activities so
Yeah.
they can have fun. But we do meet them where they are. And if they're not interested or they don't want to, we'll have quieter activities. We pivot to, either a craft or sensory play. So we meet everybody's needs. And I love that, and we would do it more than a week, but it's volunteer and that's why it's a half a day in 1 week because we
Yeah.
have all volunteers running it, but we have a good time. And typically we're at a one-to-one with the kids
Oh,
and staff.
wow.
So everyone is um supported or has what they need.
You've talked a couple times now about not being heavily into the teaching mode. And I just want to highlight that a little bit because I don't know if all people know this, but I feel like I primarily work with young adults, and so many of them won't come to a program because they've been so programmed as younger children. We have to like wordsmith around what we're going to do so that it sounds more appealing and it doesn't sound therapeutic. So I really appreciate that you all kind of recognized that early on and created a space that's about exploration, which is a fun thing, not necessarily being learning something and being changed and being fixed. Those things are not fun. They don't sound fun.
Nobody wants that. That's why you see a lot of, well, you kind of do, people offering therapy for the rest of us, and you just like willingly gonna go, only if you know you're really broken and you haven't had any work, right? But if you've been working on you and going to this and going to that, you really don't want to do that. You want to have fun. So I say we bring the fun to autism
Mm.
because everybody needs it, you know?
Yeah.
You just want to be yourself and enjoy, other people. So,
So the camp costs a little bit of money, but it's pretty darn inexpensive, and offers some great opportunities. Everything else has a low fee, donation based kind of fee based on what you're
mhm.
looking at. I noticed on the website you had a couple things that I didn't really, I wondered about. So I'm just going to ask you, tell me about teen social calls.
The teen social calls happen weekly on Mondays. And so our teen group started from a golf outing, no, a bowling outing, excuse me. Because you know what's funny about bowling is you have to take turns and you kind of have to communicate. So when you're getting a bunch of people together for the first time, bowling is a really great way to do that. And so our first teen event was a bowling outing, and that just morphed into a Facebook group because not everybody wants to be in person. So which morphed into the social calls, and they talk to each other virtual, well, yeah, virtually, some on camera, some not, but and they lead the calls. So they decide what they talk about. If they want to do an activity, they plan, they let us know what they want to do so we can figure that out. But, it's giving our teens an opportunity to connect and make friends at their comfort level, and that's just important because it's hard.
That's awesome.
And, it's hard to be a teenager no matter what. And
Mhm.
when you don't know how to express yourself, because puberty rocks everybody, right? It's just confusing. But when you don't know, your social skills aren't the best. And it's just hard to figure out how to make those friends, how to make those
Yeah.
connections. So we try to make it easier. And so when they do in-person events, they enjoy being together. And when they're on a call, you're not forced to do anything. You can participate to your
Mhm.
comfort level. So
Love it.
yeah, so that's our teens.
Yeah. We have a self-advocate group that meets weekly online, and I think it's very similar in terms of come as you are, and they're very focused on advocacy issues, but everybody participates as they choose. And then what's a buddy bench?
I had learned about this on the internet. You collect plastic caps from water bottles, soda bottles, butter bins, whatever, and you recycle them into a bench. So the plastic outdoor benches like in parks. And we just finally got enough. We were partnering with Ladue Middle School to get them benches. And now we finally have 400 pounds of caps. So
Ooh,
it's now a matter of getting them to the place in Indiana and getting some benches. But the purpose behind the bench was, the buddy bench signifies if you're lonely, if you need support, it lets other kids know that, you need something, you need a connection. And so hopefully they're drawn, though if you sit there, someone will come and, even if it's just hi, just communicate with you because the loneliness, especially in middle school, is hard.
yeah. Well, you know what? You segue into what's going to be my last question, which, may I ask you a mom question?
Sure.
I don't think we talk about the transition out of elementary school into middle school very often. So, can you just share maybe what you think was the most important thing you learned, the most important strategy you utilized? I think that's a really hard shift. And as you said, it gets real clicky and weird, and social stuff becomes hard. Um, what do you have to say on this subject?
It's so funny you asked that because now my younger two have just finished elementary, fourth grade. They aged out, and it was such an emotional time. But poor one of my twins, he cried at school all day because it was that hard. We were so loved and embraced, and so you go from that to now you got to be a big kid. And the first time I did it with my oldest, yeah, it was hard. It was scary it was intimidating knowing he's going from, the love and support of our elementary, because, K through 4, he was there the whole time, to now navigating a bigger school with more people, with more kids, with more differences in attitudes and personalities. Yeah, it was very challenging emotionally for me. So what I did was I'm my kid's personal stalker, I will be honest. So, I go and I make sure I talk to all the teachers and kind of let them know a little bit about my children, my because like I said, I feel like you can't wait until, it's December now and I got an idea of what your kid's name is and a little bit about it. No, I need to make sure that you know who he is and you know who I am, and we have a ability to communicate because I really feel like one of the things we miss at schools is the communication, like really building a team with your educators and really
Mhm.
appreciating them and supporting them because like they don't always know. Like autism is tricky and it's different for absolutely everybody.
Yeah,
No two people are the same. So, you want them to feel comfortable and supported. And if they need information, they being the educators, that they can, come to you and ask you a question or say, hey, this is what's
yeah,
going on. Or if you have a problem, you've noticed, because the social part is the hardest part. And so when you're not sure, your child is telling you one thing and you don't know because you're not there anymore and you're not able to just go when you want to and chit chat up with the whole school. When you don't know those things, you want to make sure you have a relationship with the educator so you can ask, say,
yeah,
hey, and I do it all the time. How's he doing connecting with other students? And, is he participating? So, it's those kind of dynamics. And
yeah,
I'm learning, perception versus reality is a big deal. The way he sees it, the way it happened, and the way he
hmm,
plays it to me, not always the same thing. And I've learned to, so I never go in hot anyway, because it's not my personality. But, I'm learning now to ask better questions to make sure what his perception is of what happened. And then, if I have to have a conversation with teachers, I do that all the time. Like, I'm a late night emailer. So, but, I'm a big fan of building relationships with your educators,
yeah.
participating at the school to whatever your ability is because work schedules, but making sure you're also seen and you are also known to be a parent that's watching over your children. You're not just letting them fall in the cracks because I
Yeah.
notice everything about mine. But yeah, I encourage every parent just build a relationship with your educators because they're your eyes and ears at school. And when they know you care, they are paying attention so they can
Yeah.
answer a question or help you head off things.
Yeah, those teachers aren't there for the money. So everything you said was great. If you've got a child transitioning into middle school or high school or elementary school, think about what you want to do to prepare for that first day of school. I think Felicia's given you some great insights. There's a lot of tools you can use that allow you to share a little bit about your child on a piece of paper that can be really useful. And a lot of schools are super supportive of coming in, taking a walk through the school a week before it opens, seeing where your locker is going to be, seeing where you will eat your lunch, and all those things can be very comforting to somebody that's anxious about a new space. So that's my challenge to you all this summer, is to think about those transitions and don't be caught by surprise. Take charge of that. Felicia, is there anything I didn't ask you about the Freddie Ford Family Foundation that you wanted me to say?
I just want to, if I'm speaking directly to parents, just know that you are not alone. You are doing a great job. It always feels challenging, and you're always going to feel like you're not doing it right. Your kids are going to treat you like you're not doing it right. But, lead with love, lead with patience for yourself first, because if you can't center yourself, you can't really help center your children. But just know, give yourself grace and give your kids grace to grow. And no matter what anybody tells you, your children are able to do anything that you and they want to do. It's our job as their parents to encourage them to grow. Don't let anyone limit your kids because there are no limits. And it's not a race. It's not a race. They are going to be who they are supposed to be, and you're going to be an amazing parent, and you're growing as an individual because you have such amazing children. So don't ever doubt that.